My senior year of high school, I lived with my grandma. I remember one night I was studying for my AP literature test that I had the next day. Around 9 p.m., my grandma burst into my bedroom and told me to hurry up and get ready. We needed to go to the hospital. I had no idea what she was talking about. And that's when she mentioned that my mom and my sister had been in a car accident. I felt like my heart stopped beating and my stomach dropped. I couldn't think of anything what to say other than, "What are you talking about?" We ran to the car in our pajamas and drove straight to the hospital. I knew that they were coming home from dance practice, so I thought maybe because the area was woodsy and the road was really curvy and dark that they had like swerved to hit a deer or something. And that's when my grandma mentioned that they were actually hit by a drunk driver. We got to the hospital and found my stepdad. He was talking to an officer who confirmed that the other driver was drunk and they had a blood alcohol content of twice the legal limit. When a doctor came out to give us an update on my mom and my sister, they said that my sister was getting casts put on both of her arms because she had lifted her hands to block the impact and actually broke both of her arms. He mentioned my mom had much more severe injuries because the car accident was actually head on. The transmission from my mom's car came up into the car and crushed both of her feet. They needed to do a reconstruction on them so she didn't lose any function in her feet. My grandma then asked about the other driver to make sure that they were okay, and the doctor actually wouldn't tell us if they were okay or not, but we later found out that they didn't have any injuries. That night was such a blur. It felt like a terrible, terrible dream, and I was so exhausted but couldn't sleep. And at some point in the early morning hours, I then realized I still needed to go take my test. I remember our teacher had mentioned that there were no makeups offered, and it was really important for our course. So I drove home, and the entire time I was driving, I was terrified that a drunk driver was going to hit me. I grabbed my supplies and went to the testing site. I told my teacher what had happened the night before, and she said I didn't need to take the test for our class, but if I didn't take it, all of the college credits I had earned throughout the year I would not receive. So I ended up taking the test, and after the 3-hour test, I went back to the hospital. I was able to see my mom for the first time since the accident, and the image of her lying in that hospital bed is one I will never forget. We all know not to drink and drive, but living through its aftermath will give you an entirely different perspective on this issue, and it's a lesson that I will never forget. Not only has it taught me to cherish my family and my loved ones, but it has also taught me to go out of my way to help others so that they don't have to live through the same experience that I did.